What happens when a child who's terrified of confined spaces becomes a hero who literally commands the infinite expanse of the sky? And what happens when the woman who is worshipped as a god chooses instead to fight for the flawed, messy world of mortals? Today, we're soaring into the majestic and deeply human history of one of the most iconic, powerful, and culturally resonant characters in all of comics, Ororo Munroe, the Incredible Storm. We'll track her journey from the dusty streets of Cairo to the galactic throne of Morocco and uncover the emotional echo that powers it all. Welcome back to Marvel Echoes Resonance. I'm Will, and today we're going to talk about a character who, for many fans like me, defined the X-Men for a generation and arguably defined what a powerful female hero could really be in the modern era. We're discussing Storm, and to understand her legacy, you have to look past the lightning bolts and the wind and see the girl who is left terrified and alone in the dark. Ororo Munroe was born in New York City to a Kenyan mother and American father, but her childhood was tragically cut short in Cairo, Egypt. When she was just a child, a plane crash killed both of her parents and buried her alive beneath a mountain of rubble. That traumatic experience branded her with severe, debilitating claustrophobia and a crippling fear of being enclosed. For a power-leveling god, this is her kryptonite. It's the core, essential human vulnerability that defines her. Orphaned, she survived on the streets of Cairo, becoming a skilled thief under the tutelage of a master pickpocket. Now, this isn't some lighthearted Oliver Twist type of story. Now, she was living a dangerous, desperate life, and that experience forged a resourcefulness in her that would become key to her later leadership. But her true destiny was waiting for her in her ancestral homeland, Africa. She eventually traveled south to the Serengeti to the plains of Kenya, and this is where the trauma and the power finally emerged. Her mutant powers, atmokinesis, the ability to control all forms of weather, manifested fully and explosively. During a period of drought, she summoned the life-giving rains. The local tribes, understandably, saw her as, well, a miracle, a living goddess. And that is the essential, brilliant narrative duality of Storm's origin. She spent her formative years hiding her fear in the darkness, only to emerge and command the light of the sun and the raw energy of the sky. She went from an insignificant street urchin to being worshipped as a deity. But being a god can be lonely. And this is where the X-Men step in. Professor X, the talent scout, found her in Kenya. Ororo was offered a choice: continue the life of serenity and worship, or join his new international team of X-Men and fight for the flawed, messy world of mortals. When she steps off the plane in the second Genesis story, she's making a choice that defines her legacy. She chose responsibility over divinity. Now, her first decade with the X-Men is incredible, but her true echo comes from a traumatic experience that ripped away the power that she was so defined by. In the mid-80s, a mutant inventor named Forge, we should cover him later, hid her in a device that basically neutralized mutant abilities. And, well, it worked. Ororo was suddenly completely powerless. This arc isn't just a plot device, it's one of the greatest character studies in Marvel history. Stripped of the one thing that made her a goddess, Storm had to ask, who am I now? And the answer was profound. She was still a formidable leader, a fierce warrior, and a deeply moral individual. She adopted a tougher punk rock look with the now iconic mohawk, a visual declaration of her liberation from both the goddess image and Professor X's slightly more conservative one. She was defying expectations. This led to the unforgettable duel against Cyclops, the leader of the team. Using only her cunning and her incredible combat skills, she defeated Scott Summers and officially earned the mantle of leader. It was definitive proof that her true power was never the weather. It was her sheer, unyielding will. If you want to understand why Storm is who she is, that's her arc. And this leadership position wasn't just confined to the X-Mansion. Storm is one of the few heroes to truly break out of her franchise's bubble. She even briefly found herself wielding an Asgardian hammer in one of the X-Men annuals, proving that she was worthy of divine power. During the Civil War era, she solidified a major part of her legacy by marrying King T'Challa, the Black Panther. Think about the cultural resonance of this. Two of the most powerful, brilliant, and sovereign black characters in comics uniting as a true power couple. Ororo became the Queen of Wakanda, a role she took seriously, even blending her duties as X-Men with her duties of the nation. In fact, she and T'Challa were so respected that they even took the place of Reed and Sue Richards for a time on the Fantastic Four. This just solidifying her status as not just a great X-Men, but a foundational hero in the entire Marvel Universe. But, unfortunately, you can't have two monarchs in a global superhero conflict without drama, right? And this is where the Echo truly lands. Storm's marriage to T'Challa became a casualty during the Avengers vs. X-Men War. When the Phoenix Force empowered Namor floods Wakanda, it forced a confrontation between the two sovereigns. T'Challa was left with a devastating choice, and he was forced to annul their marriage. This was a second great heartbreak in Storm's life, a trauma that hit just like that plane crash back in Cairo, fundamentally reshaping her existence and her relationship for family and duty. This in turn forced her back into the mutant fold, and she took her position as a senior stateswoman and leader, especially during the various conflicts that followed. For years, she led the X-Men through the turbulent post-war era, always maintaining her moral clarity, just like Captain America, but with the power of a god. And then this brings us to the Krakoan era, where she embraced a role that finally combined all of her identities, the goddess, the queen, and the powerful mutant leader. When the mutants terraformed Mars into a new planet home for the Ororo mutants, they needed a sovereign, a leader who could unite a fractured, war-torn people. That new planet needed a voice, a regent. Storm's journey to this galactic throne begins in the pages of S.W.O.R.D., where she is placed in charge of mutantkind's cosmic defense and diplomacy. It is here that she officially ascends to the Great Ring of Ororo, becoming the Regent of Sol, the voice of the solar system. Her reign is heavily chronicled in X-Men Red, where she acts as the political, strategic, and moral center for an entire planet. Now we come to the absolute peak of her power curve, the culmination of the goddess origin. During her recent solo adventures, Storm proved herself worthy to the very fabric of the Marvel cosmos. She was deemed worthy by eternity, the abstract embodiment of time and reality, to become a living avatar. This upgrade transformed her into the Eternal Storm, housing the infinite cosmic forces and elevating her power to that of a celestial goddess. Think of the kind of raw power that the Silver Surfer wields, but magnified by the consciousness of the universe itself. This truly established Ororo Munroe as a literal deity who operates on a multiversal scale. And yet, even a literal goddess must deal with the day-to-day heroics. As the Krakoan era has reached its dramatic conclusion in Fall of X and the current From the Ashes status, Storm has taken a new step. She joined the main Avengers team. This final move confirms the ultimate echo of her journey. She has moved past being defined solely by her mutant identity and stands as a foundational leader for the entire world, ready to face the next chapter of Marvel history. So I'll leave you with this question. Which moment defines Storm more? The one in Cairo where she's powerless and afraid? Or the one where she became the Eternal Storm, a cosmic sovereign? Does her trauma or her triumph represent her ultimate identity? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks again for listening to this episode of Marvel Echoes. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future episodes. Leaving a like or review really helps the podcast grow. Also, leave us a comment. Let us know what heroes you would like to see next. And for more content, including full deep dives, new reader guides, infographics, and more, make sure you check out the links in the description below. Until next time, true believers, make mine Marvel.